Welcome to the Power of Nature podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Waldo. In this show, I talk about how nature and the natural world can communicate with us, how it can communicate directly and individually with each of us, and how this can create immeasurable benefits for us in our lives. I share stories of my experiences doing this as part of a regular and ongoing practice, and I talk to others about their experiences with the power of nature as well. So join me as we go on a journey of learning about the power of nature, how it can communicate directly with us, and the impact that it can have on our own lives. Welcome back to the Power of Nature podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking about the power of color and colors. And really, it's about kind of how nature has communicated with me through color. And, all of the things that has taught me, how it's impacted my life, my work, inspired me, filled me with joy, a sense of beauty, wonder, and so much more. So let's dive into this. As is always the case, I was not planning to record, but I did have a sense that I didn't have any Power of Nature episodes ready. A lot of my podcasts I record, when I feel the call, and then I just kind of give them a number and save them. And then when the next around the next time comes up, usually around once a week, but sometimes not, when I feel called to publish, or when it's somewhat around a weekly publishing schedule, I will publish one of my episodes that I've already recorded, but I didn't have one for Power of Nature. And it occurred to me this morning, but I also, I don't podcast on a schedule. I don't really release on a schedule. I've really learned to kind of go to the beat of my own drum of when I really feel like something, like I'm doing it out of inspiration versus out of like a deadline or necessity. Because I find that when I do it out of inspiration and excitement, that to me, it's like that's what allows my authentic information or guidance to flow. When I start getting onto I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, that's when the natural flow and the authenticity, I kind of feel like things start to get forced and it doesn't work. So long story of that is that, I did not plan to record today, but it did occur to me that I didn't have an episode. So I was just like, well, okay, I know that these things work out. This is what I've discovered is I just kind of don't fret about it. And if I don't publish, I don't publish. And if I do, I do. And it depends on what I feel called to do. And I've learned to listen to these feelings and what I call these callings. And that's what I talk about in all of my shows, and all of the stuff that I do related to listening to my inner self. But what ended up happening is, I think I went outside to feed the horses. I think that's what it was. After this realization of not having an episode, I went outside to feed the horses, and also I bought some flowers for some landscaping, and it's been colder at night, so I kind of moved them into the garage so that they don't freeze or get frost on them, and then I bring them out. So I brought them out, And then I think I was about to feed the horses and I was checking on our chickens. It's so funny to think that we have horses and chickens, but that is what we have. And my lifestyle even 5 years ago was so different from this. Even though I grew up around horses, if you hadn't heard, I was away from them for a long time. And when we moved to Montana, if someone said you're going to have a property and you're going to have horses and chickens, and a lizard and pet mice, I'd have been like, what are you talking about? There's no way. And yet such is the case. So here I was outside, checking on the chickens, moving the plants in, about to feed the horses. And I've been looking at the plants that I bought because one of the things that I really kind of learned, like I'm not a gardener. I'm not good with plants. I admire and I love, not admire, I love nature. I love natural elements in nature, trees and plants and flowers and, all of it. It's what I talk about in the show, and I talk about it in everything. It inspires my art, inspires everything that I do. But I'm not really a gardener at all. I don't even know that I can keep a plant alive, to be honest. I bought a pussy willow recently, this like little grafted pussy willow plant. And I said to my husband, like, can you please water it for me appropriately so that I don't kill it? Because I really like it. So that's kind of my take on it. So he did that, and he's helping me with that plant. And he kind of takes care of our other plants. Anyway, when we lived in California, we had a front yard, a backyard too, that we decided to do some things with. And as part of that, I had picked out some plants, and it worked really well because when we went to sell the house and leave California, the landscaping looked really good. It was something that the realtor commented on, and it did. When I looked at it, I was like, wow. And so it was kind of like a little skill that the selection of plants and combining plants, I don't know anything about it. I just did it based on visual and based on color. And that's what I did with these plants I just bought now. Like, my husband weighed in on a couple of them, but I picked a lot of stuff out, and it was kind of more just like what feels good and what colors do I like and how do those colors work with each other. So I was kind of in that mindset this morning as I was looking at these plants and looking at colors and looking around. And I had this realization, or this thought, which is not really a thought. It's more like this ping. It's this certain kind of ping feeling that I get. It's not like a you should podcast. It's like this welling up of an idea that feels really right in me. And the idea was doing an episode on color. And at first I was like, an episode on color on the Power of Nature podcast, like that, it seems like that would fit better on my art podcast. I have a podcast about my work as a painter and an artist called Art Flow with Michelle Waldo. So I kind of thought, well, that seems like a podcast that would be one to talk about color, because my work is very much driven by a strong use of color, texture, but color, everything starts with color in my work as an artist. But I really felt like this very strong knowing to talk about color in nature. And I started to kind of think like, where is this coming from? And what I've come to learn in podcasting is that I don't script any of this out. I don't like think in advance of what somebody likes. I mean, what I find is that a topic comes to me, and when it has a certain feeling, it is a topic that feels like it's being called to be discussed and to be shared. And what I've come to understand is that whatever is being called to be shared, like through me and by some part of myself in my episode, it will just come and it will just flow. And I've learned to trust that. I've learned to trust that when I sit down, that the words will flow, the information will flow, that I will be, it's like I'm literally, it's like I'm just, what's like an example? It's like I'm a bottle in the ocean, and I'm just the bottle that just kind of is floating on the ocean, kind of bobbing along. And where the ocean takes me is where the bottle is supposed to go. And that's what podcasting is like for me. I usually get like a ping, and that gives me an idea. And then I just kind of sit down and let whatever is coming come. And as part of that, I'm almost like being like this bottle that's just letting the ocean flow, take me where it's right. And I've learned to live this way as much as I can, because I'm not always good at it in all parts of my life for sure. But I've learned to live this way more and more. I've learned to do my work this way, like my art. I've learned to podcast in this way. And it's been kind of a journey of learning how to do this more and more, kind of like intentionally and consciously. So I knew that what I knew was that if I was feeling called to talk about color and nature, that there's nothing to be afraid of, that I would sit down and it would come. But it was funny because as I was getting ready to sit down, I would like grabbed a glass of water and some other stuff. I did some other stuff first, and as part of that, I started to kind of like almost have these awarenesses come to me of how much it's almost like how much nature has influenced my awareness of color, and then how much that awareness of color has benefited me in so many parts of my life. Like I said, it drives my art, drives like just also, I don't know, color is just really important to me. And I realized that it comes from nature. Like for me, my relationship with color, my awareness of color, my respect for color, my love for colors, always, always, always have come from nature. Like if I try to go back to like colors that I like or colors that I respond to, like what's the source of that? Was it somebody showing me some swatches of clothes, or was it, a paint palette or, paint strips or something like that? And it wasn't. It was always nature. It was always and has always been and continues to always be nature. It's the colors in nature. Right now, I am looking out my window of my office / art studio, and, I'm actually seeing a lot of earth tones. We have, here, I'll paint a picture of what I'm seeing in front of me is, we've got a lawn that is somewhat green, but also still kind of yellow tan. We actually just had some snow the other morning. We woke up, so we're like, it's like this kind of spring battle. The like green grasses are trying to grow up and be green, but we still get cold temperatures at night. So everything is not quite green. So the lawn is kind of green and brown. The trees in front of me are, these tall pine evergreen type conifer trees. We have some larches too. I think those are larches. And so there's a lot of like browns and dark greens from all of those trees. There are some other trees along our neighbor's property. They're like these kind of small privacy type trees that in the warmer weather will have leaves on them. I think they might also get some blooms, but right now they're just brown because they're just bare with branches. I see more trees, more, evergreen conifer type trees. And then I see the mountain in front of me, which right now today it's a clear day. We have kind of like a pale, not a very vivid blue sky, and there really are very few clouds. It's kind of like this light blue grayish sky, but it's sunny out. Sky and a mountain, the mountain which there's white on the top from snow at the very top, and then a lot of more greens and browns. So we have some areas where there are these like cliffs, so that's brown, and then there are these trees that are they're all evergreen or conifer trees on the mountain. At that elevation. So that's what I'm kind of seeing. I'm not really seeing any bright colors, but those are all colors nonetheless. They're kind of more earth tones, the dark greens and the slightly lighter greens and the slightly brighter, lighter greens of the grass that's emerging. There's the browns in the kind of the more burnt sienna type ground or dirt and cliffs that I see on the mountain. There's the darker browns that I see on the bark of the trees in front of me. There's a wooden fence that is separating our property from our neighbors, and that's brown. These are all colors, very earth tone colors. But I also know, and I love those colors. I love greens and browns, and I love seeing the snow on a mountain. I love the lighter, deeper, kind of umbery, sienna type colors of the cliffs that are on the mountain. But I also love really bright colors from nature. Like the first thing that comes to mind to me is when I lived in California, I would spend a lot of time in the Sierra Nevadas in Lake Tahoe. And if you've never been to Lake Tahoe, the color of the water is so amazing. It's like this aquamarine turquoise blue. It depends on where you're looking. Sometimes it can look like kind of dark blue and kind of green, but it's also, depending upon where you're at, very bluish green. There's a part of Lake Tahoe called Emerald Bay where the water literally looks like a cross between like an aqua blue green and emerald color. There's that. There are yellow aspen trees in the fall from Lake Tahoe that have really affected my awareness of like yellows and oranges. Not so much oranges, but more like yellows and golds. Actually, the Creating from the Inside Out podcast, which is one of my other podcasts, the cover of it is has a picture of me in Lake Tahoe with a bunch of yellow gold leaves behind me, and that is from the I think they're aspen trees in Lake Tahoe, because that's where that was shot. But these colors all affect me. Like another group of colors that really comes to mind for me, when we lived in California, there were I would love, first of all, there's a lot of it's the same thing here in Montana, but in living in the San Francisco Bay Area, the spring was always amazing because the over the over the summer and in the fall, everything is dry and brown and earth tones. And then with the rain in the winter, because we didn't get snow in the Bay Area, we got in the San Francisco Bay Area, we got rain. So then everything from that rain, when the spring hit, would become this like beautiful green, like this vibrant green, a different green than even what I'm looking at here from some of the green grasses here in Montana. It was almost more like a yellow green that I would see. And then also California poppies are a color of orange that I love. It's orange, and then you can also get the kind of reddish ones, and those also came from that. Here in Montana, the colors there's golds from the trees and the leaves, different kind of colored flowers that you see, the blue and the different colors of the waters of the lakes around here. The color, one of the biggest things that I love, I feel like the plants here, I don't see as much variation like I did in California, but one of the things that I really, really notice in Montana are the colors of the skies. The skies here I loved the colors of the skies in California because you would get these skies, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area, where near the Golden Gate Bridge, like the winds coming in, the temperature fluctuations coming in from the Pacific Ocean, and then meeting the warmer landmass temperatures inland from in the San Francisco Bay Area would come together, and those two things would merge together. We got a lot of fog, but we also would get these really deep blue skies that I did not grow up with in Pennsylvania. I grew up with kind of skies a little bit more like what I'm experiencing today in Montana, kind of like a light blue. But when I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, you would get these like really dark blue, but without many clouds at all, skies. And that was really, really cool. Here in Montana, we get, it's almost like, it's weird. It's almost like, I feel like the skies are bigger. I still don't understand what the phenomenon is for that. And I guess that's part of why people call part of Montana, the name of it is Big Sky Country. And I don't live in the part of Montana that has the name Big Sky Country, but I do feel like this feels like Big Sky Country because when I go driving, I feel like the skies take up a lot of what I notice. Actually, one bright color in Montana in the spring, I think it's the spring, maybe it's the summer, is we get this like bright yellow, we get this bright yellow fields, and that's from the canola plants that are planted around here by farmers. So we have this field that is this like bright yellow canola plant, and then you see the mountains in the distance with the snow cap, the snow on them, and it's just amazing. But when you combine that with these big skies, sometimes there are these big clouds, and sometimes there are big rainbows, and sometimes there are like we get alpenglow here, where everything turns kind of purplish pink against the mountains. We get like really cool sunsets where the whole sky, and I got this in California and in Pennsylvania as well, but like, where just the whole sky turns orange, or the whole sky turns pink and orange, or pink and yellow and red. I've been talking about color after color after color of these different places, and I'm not even touching on, the colors that I noticed when I lived in for a period of time in Nevada, and I noticed the color in the rocks. I noticed colors when I drove across country when I first moved from Pennsylvania to California, and or when I drove across country a couple times in my life and drove through I don't know, like Arizona and New Mexico, and seeing like the bright reds and oranges and the mesas and those colors. I could also touch on the colors when I traveled in Italy, and seeing like the colors of the Amalfi Coast, which is along the coast of Italy, where you're at the edge of where the water is, and so you get like these colors from like the cliffs and then the water, the colors in Greece. When I traveled to Greece, I went to Corfu, Greece, after college. Those colors, and some of those colors were amazing. All in all, I'm talking about all these colors. Why am I talking about all these colors? I'm talking about all these colors because it's like these colors speak to me, and they speak to me in all different ways. Sometimes they soothe my soul. Sometimes the colors of nature literally soothe pain I'm experiencing, or just things that I'm confused about, and they give me, it's like I feel soothed by these colors. Sometimes I feel jazzed up and inspired by colors. Like I feel energized. I feel like I'm full of energy, and I feel like I'm just like just ready to explode with like the vibrancy of colors, like yellows and oranges and aquamarine blues from water, and like the way things look when the sun shines on certain things, or the vibrancy of greens. And that is a sense of not exploding, but almost like overflowing energy and vibrancy. Sometimes the colors are dark and moody, and it's more like in the skies where maybe it's all, I've never seen skies that are gray, like I have in Montana, where they are just still so amazingly inspiring and beautiful. Like everything can be gray, but nothing is gray of the same shade. It's like there's these darker grays and lighter grays, and the clouds of the different layers all just, it's like an endless story in the sky, even on what is a sunless gray day. And that kind of inspires me, soothes me, has helped me. Like many a times I've had to run errands, and maybe it's been not a good day, but I go on a drive, to go do whatever I have to do, and I'm looking at the sky, and it's this cloudy day, but these clouds and the colors are just so bold and strong and powerful, and they seem to do something to me. They seem to either, help soothe a weary heart that I might have in that moment. They might help give me hope if I'm feeling unhopeful in that moment. they might just awe me with the power and the inspiration that I see or that I feel when I look at them. I feel inspired by the contrast of the grays. That's just grays, that's just the power of the gray skies here. Now, I've gone on for 30 minutes about why I felt called to record this episode and the colors that I have experienced just in some of my experiences in my life. But I guess I feel the call right now to pose this to you, if you're still with me and you're listening. Like, are you looking at the colors in nature? Are you looking at the colors around you? Are you tuning into them in a way? I have found that as I've opened up more to the colors in nature, and as I've opened up to look at them and to observe them and to tune into them, not because I'm trying to get some kind of message, but just in allowing myself to be open to them, allowing myself to just observe them and see them, I find that they do things for me. They help me. They help me feel better or inspired or soothed or calmed or rejuvenated or any number of things. And I'm not alone in the fact that nature and its colors can do this for me. It's not just me. I know that this is what can happen, and it's available for everyone to be able to experience. And for me, what I've found is that, it not only does it affect me in kind of like the feelings that I'm experiencing in the moment, I also find that it's like they stay with my heart and my soul, and then they come out of me in other ways, like through my art. Like the other day I was having some strong emotion about some stuff, and I felt called to paint, and I painted a painting that I'm looking at right now, and it was all done with blacks and some dark blues and some Payne's gray, and I don't think I used any white. No, there's no white. The painting itself has white in it, but it's from the negative space of where I did not put paint on the canvas. And the painting itself kind of looks like a, it's abstract. It's kind of got like this wash area, like this kind of like where the paint is kind of washing down. So this like, kind of a transparency. It's also got like layers of color, like where there's like blacks and blues, and kind of like the overall feeling of the painting is like aqua. Well, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Why did I paint that? I don't really know. I don't really know why I painted that. It was just what called me, but it felt right in doing it. And what I've come to understand is that when I feel called to paint, and I feel called to paint with a color, it comes from some kind of like stored place in like my heart, in my soul, in my awareness, really, of different colors that I've seen in nature. I talked in the Art Flow podcast, maybe episode 2 or 3. I can't remember exact which one, but it was, I think it was in me talking about a painting that I did called Foggy Mountain Mystery. And actually, I double checked. I paused the recording for a minute and I looked. And yeah, it's the second episode of the Art Flow podcast. And I talked in that episode about how I painted a series of paintings with kind of like purples, purple blues, purple gray, plum kind of color palette with white. And the first painting I did was this painting that I now call Foggy Mountain Mystery. And it was so interesting because it was the first time I painted like a mountain scene using, well, no, maybe it wasn't. I think it was one of the first paintings that I did that felt like I felt called to paint mountains with nothing near what would be like kind of like a traditionally accepted mountain color. So I was like painting these mountains with like these plum kind of colors and purple kind of colors. And it was kind of like, well, there are no mountains that are actually purple and plum, but I felt called to do it. And the painting itself ended up evolving from like having these strong colors to then me feeling this call to put this kind of white cast over it, which is what gives it this real foggy feel. And when I finished it, I was like, wow, I really like this painting. I just don't even like know where it came from. It's really cool. I really like it. But it's so interesting because it's made of like these kind of purple mountains in this kind of purplish gray scene, and I was like, wow, what an interesting thing to want to paint mountains like that. And I think I talked about this in episode 2 of the Art Flow podcast, because it wasn't until I think like a year later that I was driving home from like my errands and shopping, and I looked up and it was like towards the end of the day, and we have like this area where there's a whole bunch of stores, like big box stores and grocery stores. We have like a Costco and a Best Buy and a Lowe's and Home Depot and Natural Grocers, and Natural Grocers is where I get a lot of our groceries, as well as Costco. And I was coming home from this place, and one of the amazing things is when you come home, you see the mountain ranges, especially mountain ranges around us. Especially really notice them when there's snow on the mountains still. Even if there's not snow on the ground where we're at, there could be snow up on the mountains around us. And so you see it, and it's kind of like you have this moment like, oh, this beautiful mountains in the distance. Well, what I've discovered, because I discovered it that night, which I never really realized, is that if you're driving home from that place at a certain time of the day, everything looks very alpenglow or has like a purple pink cast to it. And I had obviously seen that before, but I hadn't really registered it in my conscious awareness, but my own inner self had. And so, it was like, that's what I painted in my painting. That's what Foggy Mountain Mystery, the painting, is. It is a painting of something that I had seen before, but I hadn't even kind of ever stopped to recognize it. And then when I sat down to paint, I wasn't trying to paint that. I was just letting whatever comes out come out. But clearly those colors that I had seen had affected me, because it was in like a year later that I'm driving home and I look at the mountains from these stores where we are, And I'm like, that is my painting. Like that is like what I'm seeing in the sky or what I'm seeing in these mountains or what I painted in that painting that I did. And I was like, how could that be? I didn't set out to make that painting like that. I didn't. I had no idea that like there even was a paint, like there was any real look to the painting. Like I just thought it was like, oh, I guess I'm just making all these different colored mountains that have nothing to do with what I've actually seen in real life. I just feel inspired to paint mountains in purple. That was what I thought until I realized that actually what I was seeing in real life was a whole scene that with the light at that time of the day, the alpenglow, the way the snow on it looks, the way it was, at that vantage point, at that moment, it was exactly what was in my painting. But I didn't try to make my painting be like that. I painted it with no awareness. I was completely surprised to find that I had painted something that, like, a year later, I realized I see that in real life. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it was amazing to me to realize that when I open up to the colors and when I started to really just let myself see colors and appreciate colors and admire colors in nature, which I've been doing for years and years and years and years and years, because I started to realize when I was younger, like I liked it. It felt good. Like tuning into the colors in nature helped me. And, and yet now it affects my work as an artist. I didn't set out to be an artist. I didn't set out to make a painting of a scene from what I saw near the shopping center of the mountains, but it happened. And it's like another benefit that I find that when we tune into nature, we can experience, like tuning into nature. It's like the gift that keeps giving. We tune into nature, and nature can tell us stories. Nature can inspire us with colors. Nature can give us insights. Nature can help us experience things that I don't know, that we are calling to know within ourselves. And I find that nature can help us become aware of those things. And we can experience all kinds of things by tuning into nature. And in this episode, what I'm talking about is the colors of nature that have helped me experience joy, experience beauty, experience inspiration, experience peacefulness, experience soothing when I feel suffering or pain, experience delight, experience, oh my gosh, so many things, so many experiences, all from that, which is nature's color palette. And it's amazing. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, an image occurred to me, which was, you don't have to live in the mountains of Montana, or surrounded by the mountains of Montana to experience the colors of nature, or live in California. I remember when I lived in Philadelphia, and I felt like I felt like it was a period of time where I wasn't around that much nature. But I remember when my kids were little going to the aquarium. It was in New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. I forget the name of it, but it was the big aquarium in that area. And we had a membership, and I would take my kids. But I'll never forget in the aquarium, like seeing some of the exhibits where it was kind of cool because they'd have these big, glass walls, and you're down at the water level, so you can kind of see whatever's inside, and seeing like jellyfish and seeing different tropical fish and plants and all the vibrant colors that were in nature there. These were all natural. These were all, granted, they're in a man-made setting in an aquarium, but they are natural and nature's things. And those colors, like pink, undersea plants and, corals and all kinds of things, those colors were so vibrant and so amazing. And I know they also affected me. I'm sure that I draw on those colors in my paintings and also just, colors, like I said, can be very like, soothing, like healing, like very, almost like food for my soul, really. Whether they help me feel peace or they help me feel joy and ecstasy and inspiration and creative flow, colors in nature are so powerful. All of them. The earth tones, the bright colors, everything. I find that nature is the gift that keeps giving, and color is just yet another one of those gifts that I have found has spoken to me and affected my life and benefited my life in so many ways. And maybe those colors are benefiting yours as well, and you resonate with what I'm talking about. And if you don't yet, maybe open up to it. Maybe open up to start looking at color in your world and what it can do for you. Color in particular from nature and natural things. So that is what I wanted to talk about in today's episode, and I'm going to leave it at that until the next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Power of Nature podcast. To learn more about me and my other offerings, you can visit my website at michellewaldo.com. That's MICHELLEWALDO.com.